Hi everyone, and welcome back to Big Fun Arts. I am Abigail and I am recording to you live from my living room. So in this lesson I'm going to show you how to scale this geometric sculpture drawing into a very large template that you can then print out on individual layers in a sense, and then you'll be able to take your prints and tape them together like a giant puzzle, and then you'll be able to take your giant puzzle pieces and mark them with chalk or with charcoal or with pencil on the back, and then trace this artwork off onto wood. However, before we do that, I want to talk to you about this file that we drew in the last lesson, and in this lesson I want to talk about naming layers. Now it's a kind of a long process, but each object that we've drawn is on its own object inside of a layer, and you might think of these individual guys as layers, and yes, they are definitely in a stacking order, and they are layers in their own right. They're actually layer objects inside of a single layer, which is a good point to note for certain instances. However, today, all we need to do is rename these layers and get them into some kind of semblance of order. So that's what I'm going to do now. This one at the back, called Path, I'm going to rename it by double-clicking right here on its name, and I'm going to call it Back Pillar. Now I'm just in the habit of using underscore, so you don't have to name yours with an underscore. I just like to do that. Now this guy here, this artwork, is actually a compound path, and I taught how to draw this special shape in the last lesson, so you might want to check that out. I'm going to leave that name alone because I know what that is and it's not confusing to me. This one here is a large circle in the back, so I'm going to name this circle, Circle 1. Now, when you're drawing things in Illustrator, they actually are stacking from bottom to top, so that's why I like putting the lower numbers on the bottom, although you might think of reading as top to bottom. In Illustrator, I prefer it to be the other way around. So here's Circle 2, and I'm going to continue this naming for a while here, so if you want to skip ahead, that's fine, but I'm going to keep naming. This one, that's yet another circle. It's 3, Circle 4, Circle 5, Circle 6. Aha, that is a little circle. This is a little circle. This is a little circle. I'm going to skip those for a minute. And this one is a horizontal pillar. I'll just call it front pillar. Yeah. There we go. Okay, now these little ones have partners, which is to say I'm going to make some groups here because I want to make it easy for myself to print each object out separately. So I'm going to select these two with the regular selection tool and choose Object Group because I know they're on separate layers, and when I do that, you might have noticed right here, you might want to rewind, but I took those two objects and put them into a group, and I'm going to do the same thing here with these two. I'm going to use my selection tool, doing what's called a marquee selection, so that's just taking this black arrow tool and clicking and dragging up and enclosing or just touching those two shapes and choosing Object Group. Now I don't touch any other shape, just those two. And there's my second group, and here's my last group. Click and drag, touch those two, Object Group, yeehaw! Now we've got those separated out, and I'm just going to call them Group 1, 2, and 3. I really do want to put these numbers on because when you get into the printing part of this process, it is very time consuming and can be a little bit confusing. So there's Group 1. I want to know that I've got it all down clearly. Group 2. And I'm going to just change this to my style here. And clean it up, make sense of it all later on. This is especially helpful if you're going to do stops and starts on a project because it'll help you remember where you left off. You can make notes about what you did. Alright, so yay, all of my layers are named, and I'm going to go ahead and save my file, save, and we're ready to scale. So in the next movie I'm going to show you how to begin figuring out how large to print your template and how to set up each of the individual layers to be printed out. And I'll see you in the next lesson.